Not a peep is happening. Not a peep. You all can keep talking, but we're just testing out how the mic is sounding. I think it's turned on. The man behind the curtain is doing his machinations. That's why we're doing it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so happy to see you all. That's really great to have every seat taken. We love that. Can I yell? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it looks like the cords are plugged in from where I'm standing. Yeah. So if you're first timer here, Eric Whittington is the owner of Bird and Beckett. Yay, Eric. Yay. And Bird and Beckett has been in existence since 1999 and hosts not only literary events like poetry reading, I don't remember jokes really very well, but what else can I tell you about? Oh, now we've got some sound going. Yay. 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 Okay, so welcome to San Francisco to Barbara Crooker, who has flown in from Pennsylvania. We're not officially starting, but I'm just telling them the sort of the insider scoop, which is we have Barbara flying in to San Francisco. And Barbara, you haven't been in the Bay Area in quite a while, right?
Right. Not since 1968 in a Volkswagen Beetle.
What? 1968. Oh my goodness. Wow.
It was the
Wow.
summer of love.
You were actually here for 10 years, you just don't remember.
Must be it.
So we're so happy to have Barbara here. And she was telling us that the temperature in Pennsylvania right now is something like 0 or
Zero's summer. Minus 15. Oh my God. 10 inches of snow.
ouch, ouch, ouch. So yay. Glad you're here.
So would you rather be there or in California, huh?
Here, here, here.
So how are we doing? We set to go?
I think we're ready if you're ready.
Have some water available for
Water's ready there and
cups of water for you.
great.
Well, I'm gonna put these up on the stage just in case. You want some of that sparkling there?
Thank you all for coming. It's great to see you all here. Yay. Yay.
Okay, then go ahead and just use that. Let's fill it up and I'll pour some for the others. Right, sure, you know, you gotta get your watch out. Powerful stuff. Oh, and rumor has it I have some bios to read, so let me go grab those. This is just a theory.
maybe. Oh, yeah, it's right here. I think it's going to be just fine for your voice. Just stand close.
You think so?
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
right
think,
at the good one. I think
it'll
you'll be fine. I think it'll be
I'll
totally fine.
Wait for him.
Yeah.
This one's available too. Okay. Because we can move over if you need three seats. Because you have there's three of you, right? Yeah. So let me move over. Let me move over. And no, just leave that for the other poet.
Kathleen, Jeanne. All right. All right. Just like that. All right. So there's plenty of time for you to come back and find Bert and Beckett operating on time. Sometime in the next 25 years, you're going to find that happening. We put on about 6 or 8 events a week, it seems like. I don't know. We do 4 every weekend plus. So I'm similarly disorganized for all of them. So we're going to start tonight's reading. So we have 3 wonderful poets, all with recent books. And Jeanne Wagner is going to read first. So I will read the bio that was skillfully crafted by the crew. I received voluminous amounts, and then it was boiled down. They boiled it down to the crux of the matter. So Jeanne Wagner is the author of 4 chapbooks and the same number. That would be 4 full-length collections. The Zen Piano Mover, which won the NFSPS Poetry Prize. In the Body of Our Lives, published by 16 Rivers Press. Everything Turns into Something Else, that figures, huh? Published as runner-up for the Grayson Book Prize. And her latest is One Needful Song, which she has in her lap and we have on the stand over there. The winner of the 2024 Catamaran Prize. Other recent awards include the Joy Harjo Award, the Naugatuck Prize, who knows, and the Cloud Bank Prize. Her work has appeared in North American Review, Cincinnati Review, Alaska Quarterly Review, Shenandoah, and the Southern Review. A retired tax accountant, she lives in Kensington, California. John Sibley Williams says of One Needful Song, this is a rare creation of song and scar, of vulnerability in both emotional and structural complexity. So you're in for several wonderful minutes of poetry by Jeanne Wagner. Enjoy yourselves. Jeanne, you want to hand well? Yeah, okay. You want to perch on a stool? You want to stand?
I'll stand.
Okay,
Just wanna
let's bring
make
this down
sure.
a little bit. Yeah.
I'm a mumbler, so I want to make sure I can.
Yeah, stand. You don't have to get any closer than that, but that's probably a good distance.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Can
right.
everyone hear me? I don't speak very loudly. Okay. I'll read the first poem, sort of begins the book before the chapter, and it's called Pandora. You all know what that is. Can you hear me well? Pandora. I poured out seasons, then years, then centuries, birth after birth, and every year I tried for a spring, no matter how slight. True, there was war and there was plague, and that old perennial death, but such a gush of giving. It felt like a woman's water breaking, then the pain. I gave them both fire and its tinder, a moon like an ivory tusk. I was blamed. The next poem, I wasn't going to read this at all. It's just a short poem. But since the inauguration and Since we're awaiting those millions of people that are going to be deported, I thought I'd read this poem tonight. Oh, great. It's called The Fifth Largest Country. And the epigraph here says, if international migrants were a nation of their own, they would make up the world's fifth largest country. It might evolve its own language, like the language of that small Amazonian tribe I've read about, who live without a future tense. Their action words inflected with one long, sad vowel. A language where every verb would be intransitive, because the world itself is intransigent. It would have a vocabulary with no words for doorbell or porch light, for house guests, for holidays or leftovers. Every day they'd unpack their hopes and roll them back up at night. If they had a flag, its symbol might be a patch of accordion wire or a single star winking out. They'd long for storefronts proclaiming their name to the world, for streets lined with leaf shade, for cars whose headlights stream through the dark like a river they will never have to cross. Okay, now for something a little more weird. This next one's called Ceramics 101. I used to do a lot of pottery, but when I first started, I'm not natural this, and you have to do something called centering the clay, and it means you have to kind of even it out so the whole of the mound is very symmetrical. If you don't get it exactly right, things go bad very soon. Ceramics 101. When the clay mound dwindled and wobbled in the wheel, I knew I didn't have the knack. I didn't know what to pull, where to press, what to press with, the fingers, the knuckle, the heel of the hand, the heel of a hand. I wanted to learn how to control a moving body. I watched a clump of what looked like mud spatter and spew, blobs flying from its mass like wet astral bodies gone wild. I knew I hadn't found the trick of it, like the trick of juggling, or all those childhood yo-yos I never mastered. I wanted to steady the clay. Losing my place. I wanted to steady the clay so it could wheel and circle, both the hawk and the thermal, to constrain and release at the same time, to open it as the spathe of a lily opens out of the strictness of its stem, or the way the sun seems to grow from the elusive flatness of the horizon, lifting itself up like a golden yoke, like a gift, glistening and swelling inside an air that wraps it into itself. To throw a pot is to wheedle out its symmetry with a steady hand that can smooth away 1,000,000 years of earthly upheaval. To bring it forth, viscous and shining into the world, to find its centripetal force, like a child twirling in her first pleated skirt. This next one I'm going to read is about the peppered moth, and it's kind of for evolution, it's sort of the poster child of the insect world there. When the peppered moth, it stays on trees, and in the north of England, after all that industrial pollution, the barks of the trees turned black, and the moth itself became black, its wings turned black, so that the birds couldn't find it and devour it. The peppered moths. This is the epigraph I'm reading. Natural selection is still at work on the peppered moth. As predicted by the theory, the number of dark moths is dropping as the forests become cleaner. When the trees turn dark, we turn dark too, clung to the bared trunk, heads almost kissing the bark. Our mothers had told us to blend in, which was easy. We'd been pale with piebald tendencies. Afterwards, we became the speckled gray of soot apple snow. When the smoke vanished and the trees came clean, it was time to go light again. Truth is, it took us years to lose our old disguise, to forget the way our fears lay splayed and prone, like a novitiate taking her final vows. I'll read that again. Like a novitiate taking her final vows, suppliant, face down. Oh, we fed them daily, the divine appetite of birds, their beaks plucking at that hinge we call the body, their craws stuffed with the part that cringes between those powdery camouflage things that let us rise and flee. We call them wings. This last poem I'm going to read. About a year ago, I had a stroke, and the doctors afterwards asked me about every 5 minutes. They'd have a little picture they show you, and they ask you to describe it. It's to see if you're aphasic, if you've lost your speech. And the picture's strange. It's like a cartoon scene, a 50s family, and the mother's washing the dishes. She has her apron on and the water's running down. And a boy is standing in a stool trying to get cookies out of a jar. The sister's, her hands are up. So this is a pantoon. And the pantoon form is very repetitious. And the repeating here is a mixture of looking at the painting and what I'm seeing in the painting and remembering my own kitchen floors where my mother fell when I was very young, where actually my father died on the same floor where I had my stroke. So all these floors are repeating in the poem. After a stroke, the doctor asked me to describe the cookie theft picture. This is the epigraph. The cookie theft picture, our cartoon of a retro family in the kitchen, is a common diagnostic tool for aphasia. She looks like my 50s mother, asking me to turn down the heat. Our leg of lamb, forgotten in the oven, was beginning to overcook. I see a boy reach for the cookie jar, the stool slipping from his feet. A girl lifts up her hand. The boy starts to fall, his falling overlooked. My mother overcooked the leg of lamb, her body helpless on the floor. This mama's drying dishes, ignoring the water cascading at her feet. From the sink, I'm sorry. The girl lifts up her hand to her brother, but I'm not that girl anymore. This isn't my dysfunctional family, but I keep searching for some link. This mom is drying dishes. The overflowing water, a symbol of tears. Every kitchen is an engine room, a hearth, the heart of the home. My dysfunctional family must be added again. The meaning isn't clear. I fell on the kitchen floor, where once I found my father, already gone. Every kitchen is an engine room, but I long for the heart of the home, where once my 50s mother kept asking me to turn down the heat. Falling is a family trait, like gravity, something I've always known. This boy, he just keeps on reaching, the stool slipping from his feet. How are we? Can I, one more? For the last poem, I will read the poem that has the title in it. In praise of Echo, and I think you all know who Echo is, in the Metamorphosis. There's Echo and Narcissus, and she's the one that waits for her echo. Ovid made her into just another ditzy naiad, condemned to someone else's words. But that's only repetition, not echo. Not echo with its gift of hoarding a voice for a few seconds, then playing it back, so even the most playful hallooing comes back as a hollowed sound. My first day in school, I raised my hand, asked if I could go to the lavatory. I rehearsed the word, but when I opened the door, I found only hollowness in that gaping row of basins, in the alien chill of anonymous tile, in the closeted stalls with their clanking locks. Alone in a strange room, I was afraid I might become invisible, like Echo. I tried to scream, but my voice got lost in my throat. Poor Echo, in love with Narcissus, she was repeating his words in all the wrong places. My Irish grandmother told me wells and caves are holy sites where you can hear the sound of the spirit exhale. Science taught me the rebounding path an echo takes, proof even a voice has touch. What if we could find our way, like bats or dolphins, like swiftlets and whales, like wolves who throw back their heads and howl to some distant pack they'll possibly never meet. Yet they keep at it, ringing into the empty air their one needful song. Thank you.
Okay, I can tell we're at a high-level reading here tonight. Thank you very much. It's always great, but sometimes it's really great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Jeannie. All right, next up we'll have Kathleen McClung, who was kind enough to get this reading pulled together in the first place. So we really appreciate that very much. She's the author of 5 poetry collections, including her latest, Questions of Buoyancy, which is there, from Longship Press. Others include the 2020 Rattle Chapbook Prize winner, A Junior Must Fold Into Herself, In On Herself, A Juror Must Fold In On Herself, Temporary Kin, and The Typist Play Monopoly. I think that's the first one you read from here, right? And Almost the Rowboat. Almost. Winner of the Morton Marr, Maria W. Faust, and Rita Dove National Poetry Prizes. Her work appears widely in journals and anthologies. In 2024, she was a finalist for the San Francisco Poet Laureate. Guest editor for the MacGuffin in 21 to 23. She teaches English at Skyline College, where she directed the annual Women on Writing Conference for 10 years. She also teaches for San Francisco State's Ollie Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, as well as privately. And Jim Daniels says, Kathleen McClung may be the finest poet writing in form today. Questions of Buoyancy is a remarkable collection. Wistful and haunting, these exquisite poems deserve to be read and reread, and presumably heard here tonight. Okay, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. And thank you, Jeanne. Beautiful reading. Wow. Questions of Buoyancy was written during Trump's administration. And here we are. So I'm going to start with a poem, a pantoum. I was so happy to hear your pantoum. And this is a pantoum called The Comrade. And I've been a teacher for nearly 30 years. And this is in the voice of Helen Keller's teacher, Annie Sullivan. And Annie Sullivan was an Irish immigrant, very poor, and grew up in an almshouse when her mother died and her father couldn't afford to raise her. And she was visually impaired and managed to emerge and live a life of huge impact. And so I look to Annie Sullivan as someone who will keep me strong during these coming years. The Comrade, a pantoum for Annie Sullivan, 1866 to 1936. If I dwell within old walls, I will always be blind. No miracles in the Tewkesbury almshouse, only work and death, only scrubbing planks beneath my shins. No miracles in the Tewkesbury almshouse, no answer to my prayers for brother Jimmy, only scrubbing planks beneath my shins, cobwebs I touch but cannot see. No answers to my prayers for brother Jimmy, no priest or gravestone, only a small box. Cobwebs I touch but cannot see. Where do his bones lie? No priest or gravestone, only a small box. I will burst free, learn to read. Where do his bones lie? I will sign my name in bluest ink. I will burst free, learn to read. Men come to my aid, headmaster, eye surgeon. I will sign my name in bluest ink, grip documents like hammers, diploma, train ticket. Men come to my aid, headmaster, eye surgeon. What verb for all I do? Beseech? Demand? Grip documents like hammers, diploma, train ticket, south from Boston to Tuscumbia. What verb for all I do? Beseech? Demand? So many words, so many destinations. South from Boston to Tuscumbia, I travel to a girl whose family owned slaves. So many words, so many destinations for those who would be free. We must work. I travel to a girl whose family owned slaves. Quarrel with Helen's father on my first day. For those who would be free, we must work. I spell words into her palm. Quarrel with Helen's father on my first day. Rue my own for leaving us. Again, what verb? I spell words into her palm. DOLL. MUG. WATER. Rue my own for leaving us. Again, what verb? Together we enter silence. Smash it to bits. DOLL. MUG. WATER. We are each thirsty. I will never leave her. Together we enter silence. Smash it to bits. Such fine ribbons she has, and frocks and shoes. We are each thirsty. I will never leave her, never govern her. No, usher over thresholds. Such fine ribbons she has, and frocks and shoes. Braille at Perkins, Marks at Radcliffe. Never govern her. No, usher over thresholds, suffrage rallies, Rococo theaters, union halls thick with smoke. Braille at Perkins, Marks at Radcliffe. She travels far, far from Alabama. Suffrage rallies, Rococo theaters, union halls thick with smoke. Who teaches whom? Guides these expeditions of fingertips. She travels far, far from Alabama, and I from Tewksbury. I refuse chains. Who teaches whom? Guides these expeditions of fingertips. Move and reach. Climb, discover, and pull. And I, from Tewksbury, I refuse chains. Seize more verbs, comrades and companions. Move and reach. Climb, discover, and pull. Fling open the shutters, unfurl sentences, bright banners. Seize more verbs, comrades and companions. We have only our hands, only love and will. Fling open the shutters, unfurl sentences, bright banners. If I dwell within old walls, I will always be blind. We have only our hands, only love and will, only work and death. So I'm going to read a villanelle, and this was written, I think this was written during COVID when I was walking the streets of San Francisco with my mask and staying 6 feet away from everybody. And I walked by this art gallery in my neighborhood and stopped and looked in the window. And this is the poem that emerged. It's called Tête-à-Tête. The handsome painter stops and comes outside, admires the Celtic knot around my neck. I notice he's charming and blue-eyed and eager to explain with muted pride his flaming donut on display. I'm such a wreck, the handsome painter stops. I stand outside his studio and smile while he confides, with Trump, the world feels like a tiny speck, a crumb on fire. He's charming and blue-eyed. I'm listening, as women do, and decide this dance is one of commerce, not of sex. The handsome painter stops. We stand outside the window, gaze at his tight sphere of kelp beside blueberry donut blaze. I'll write no check. I'll slide no card. Although he's charming and blue-eyed, I don't desire seaweed or dough deep fried. My speed is more Matisse, Toulouse-Lautrec. The handsome painter stops, goes back inside. Pedestrians beware. He's charming and blue-eyed. I'm going to read a poem in honor of my father, who I'm really glad missed COVID and missed Trump. But I think about him a lot and think about both my parents and all my ancestors and how do we move forward? I'm trying to figure that out. This is a poem about him getting pulled over for a DUI as a retired man. It's called Behind the Wheel. It's a sestina. Our monthly ritual. He'd ask about my cat, uncork a bottle, pour us each some wine, Merlot. I'd curse the traffic on the drive, I-80 East. My father wasn't bored. He'd nod and say, never tailgate, stay safe, rotate your tires and change your oil. He'd ask about my 401, my landlord. Ask, what did the vet advise about old cats' hairballs? He'd show me articles he'd saved, websites and blogs he liked. He poured more wine and reminisced. 2 terms on the school board, his office, business trips. Sometimes we'd drive to Jackson, play poker machines, then drive back from the hills, still talking poker as the sun sank, Blue lights bloomed on his dashboard, and twilight blurred the road. He swerved for cats, and once some wild turkeys, their feathers wine-colored, their strutting slow. He kept them safe. A cop arrested him one night, unsafe, erratic weaving in a lane while driving home from chess at Duffy's bar. More wine than usual, more checkmates, too. I never asked how many games he lost, too delicate a point to probe. My father liked the board at Duffy's in the back, below the old dartboard that no one used. A quiet tavern, safe, no brawls, just chess, and fondness for a cat named Stubb, who slept between the kegs. The drive from Duffy's, 8 quick blocks. He didn't ask to call a cab. He dozed in jail and paid the fines, apologized in court. The judge liked wine and chess as well, perhaps. She wasn't bored or cruel, just firm, assigning Dad the task of office help, SPCA. They saved a few, he told me. Their spring kitten drive, a big success. He typed cage cards for cats and dogs newly arrived, his fingers swift on sleek keyboard. He saved to the hard drive. Old cats are like fine wines. Ask any volunteer. And I think I'll read 2 more. I'm going to read one more that's about going to a crab feed. My stepmother, who is a devout Catholic, invited my partner Tom and I to her church's crab feed, an annual fundraiser. And I was really nervous, like, what's this going to be like? And it turned out to be wonderful. So this is called Crab Feed for my father, 1936 to 2008. My stepmother tells us, come hungry, come ready to eat gumbo and crab, peach cobbler. She mails us tickets with smiling cartoon crabs, cursive letters, no host bar, music, raffle. A funeral home near the freeway, one of the sponsors, address and phone across the left-hand edge. No outside alcohol on the right. Tom jokes he'll give me a tutorial on the right way to behave at a Catholic church dinner. My plan, eat slower than usual, nod agreeably, anchor a napkin across my lap, accumulate Mardi Gras beads. I double-check. Our tickets nestle between some 5s and 1s in my wallet, the way I safeguard Giants tickets, coupons for Clement Street Bar and Grill. But these are friendlier documents somehow. No barcodes to be scanned, just cartoon claws, a knife in the right, a fork in the left. My stepmother floors it all the way to the church in her Scion. I almost yell, "Eat my dust!" out her backseat window. We are outlaws. No ticket tonight. We hurtle into the parking lot, snag the one space left across from the entrance festooned with crepe paper. Above us, the cross unsways in the twilight. She locks a red bar onto her steering wheel. We hear the engine tick for a moment, and it occurs to me that everyone must write a poem about a church crab feed eventually. "Let's eat," Tom almost yells and swishes his palms together in that endearing way of his. She's happy we've come with her. I can tell by the way she finds our table, our last name, hers and mine, in ink across butcher paper on the formica. She's brought all the right tools to eat this meal, unpacks them while Tom orders wine at the bar. Special bowls and bibs, little burners to melt the butter just right. I'm sure I'll win a raffle prize, that spa robe. Buy 10 tickets in a strip like carnival rides. I fling my numbered ticket stubs into a wire tumbler, luck humming through me the way it does sometimes when I least expect it. We are doing the right thing, the three of us. Worship takes all forms. I look across rows of heads and beads. Tom balances Chardonnays from the bar. My stepmother lights candles below the burners. We will eat in disposable bibs, listen for digits, redeem more drink tickets across the bar. A girl, is she 20? Eating to my right, we'll talk about rehab. The man upstairs. Way to go, I will tell her, and nod over the shells we have broken. I'm going to end with the title poem, Questions of Buoyancy. I don't think I need to say anything about it. Thank you to Kate Pepper for this beautiful painting on the cover. I especially like this painting because the woman on the cover has been in the water. She's dripping here, and she's about to go back in. And she's ready for what's coming. And I think that's a good metaphor. So we're all about to, or we are all already in the water. And so let's stay strong, everybody. Questions of buoyancy. The pool has no swimmers on this day in October. No one ready to cross over from the shallow end, thumbs and fingers webbed, kicking hard, imagining if she breathes just right, the glamour of gold medals around her neck, master of the butterfly. The pool has no swimmers on this day. No ponytailed girl in rubber bathing cap, folding her glasses beside a starfish towel, dabbing sea and ski on the slope of her nose. A carpet of tanning teenagers ahead, blurred limbs, transistor static on hot concrete. She got her father's myopia, his quick burning skin, and she knows the story by heart. How he lost a contact lens in a Sacramento pool, but somehow, palms swirling cement floor, found his slim necessity, pinched it like a pearl, surfaced, triumphant, wet it with his tongue. The pool has no swimmers, and she wonders if she lost something small, a crumb or a syllable, would she climb the fence? Strip away the buoyant, dive into this alluring blue. And how deep would she go before coming up for air? Thank you all. Thanks.
Okay, I guess we're all glad we came out tonight. That's a relief. Not that I wasn't sure, but it's always a relief when we feel that way about things. Thank you. That was beautiful. Terrific stuff. So Barbara Crooker is coming up. Author of 10 full-length books of poetry. Slow Records is the one she's brought with her tonight. Grayson Books 2024. Preceded, I guess, maybe in reverse order. Who knows exactly. Some Glad Morning from the Pitt Poetry Series, longlisted for the Julie Suck Award. And the Book of Kells, Cascade Books, winner of the Best Poetry Book of 2019 award from the Poetry by the Sea. Those are her newest collections. 7 more behind that, I guess. The poems in her current collection consider the slow records that comes with advancing years. As well as considering the travails of an aging individual, Barbara Crooker uses a wider lens to examine the damages inflicted by society and its failings. And through it all, or despite it all, Crooker finds beauty and hope in the physical world. In Slow Records, she writes with candor, irony, and ultimately love. So says the publisher. Marjorie Stelmach says, Barbara Crooker's previous poetry collections have gained her a wide readership with superbly crafted poems celebrating the daily joys of what she terms an ordinary life. but she has also written two about loss. In many of these poems, Crooker widens her focus to include the failures of our society, damages inflicted upon us and upon our earth as a result of our blindness or our country's short-sighted policies. Addressing Walt Whitman, she asks, "It's the 21st century in America. Can you still hear us singing?" All right, Barbara. Make sure this is a good height for you. Come on up. Let me come around this side then.
Goodness, we're in hands.
Then, well, there you go.
All right, and
Yours
I
are
am
cool.
short.
So I'm going to bring this.
Okay.
We won't bring you down, but we'll bring this down. That's probably going to be fine.
Thank you. All right.
Let me
Sound
get back
good?
to that end before we
Okay,
get too
great.
far into it.
Sure. It's one of my life's ambitions to get taller, but I don't think it's going to happen. I want to thank you, Eric, for hosting this. I want to my two wonderful co-readers. Wonderful night of poetry. It's lovely to be here. I do not have a Pantone for you. Sorry. But the first one that I'll read, the first poem in the book, is a traditional sonnet. Then, and it starts with an epigraph from William Faulkner. The past is never dead. It's not even past. Oak leaves stamp against a chicory sky swirled with clouds like a marble I once had and lost. It's probably still there, caught in a dry puddle, a tree root, or one of those cracked pavements of childhood that we walked on going to school. We roamed the neighborhood in feral packs, marked up the curb with chalk, hopscotch, marbles, kickball, only going in for food or Band-Aids. No sunscreen, helmets, fancy bikes. Once, we rode to the creek to swim, dead deer resting in the shallows. We didn't think alike. Was it safe to swim or not? I can still hear my mother calling my name as darkness fell and fireflies sent out messages that only they could spell. And if you can imagine this, we actually spent, probably a good hour debating whether or not it was safe to swim in water with a deer corpse. And just like Jeanne's poems, mine are set in the 50s. In this one, the title tells what it's about, but I'm of Italian-American heritage, and at this point in time, you did not go into a restaurant and order mussels, which is the title of the poem, because nobody ever heard of them. Okay, so mussels. My parents rented a small house by the sea. It was the 50s, and this was a stretch for them. It wasn't on the ocean, but several blocks inland, and not the Atlantic itself, but Long Island Sound. A brackish stream sullenly nudged nearby, the smell of pluff mud enough to bring me back. My immigrant grandmother came every year. She knew the art of making do, led us on the hunt for steamer clams, look for squirts or holes in the sand, scuttling crabs and mussels, those hard blue nuggets we plucked from rocks at low tide. Strangers gathered around us, wondered what we were doing. Food came from the supermarket, a new abundance after the war, not the damp sand. What on earth will you do with them? They asked, not knowing how they would transform in the kettle's steam into something sweet and delicious, glistening with olive oil, nuggets of garlic, a splash of wine, making the bed of linguine sing. Our family wasn't an easy one. My father's anger always on the back burner, my mother and grandmother in conflict in the kitchen, but here we earned our dinner foraging together. We twirled our forks in the tangled strands and dug in. Sorry, I can't serve you something. And I think that I would like the epigraph of this poem, which is by Ram Dass, to be the counter to the inauguration. And the epigraph is, "We are all just walking each other home." And the poem is called Queens, and the rest of it is self-explanatory, I think. I hadn't taken the subway in New York in 50 years, not since I was an undergraduate, and I was nervous. Back then, it was hard to navigate as graffiti and peace signs covered up the maps. But a friend from Queens wanted to meet for lunch, so I took a deep breath and set out, clutching the email she'd sent with directions. Of course, now the maps are electronic, not readily broken, and easy to read. But her station was confusing, a maze of underground passages, and she'd warned me I'd have to walk some distance if I went up the wrong stairs. So I stood there, trying to align her text, match her words to the nearby stores. An elderly East Asian woman asked, "You lost?" She snatched the papers from my hand. "Okay, follow me." Wielding her cane like a weapon, she pushed pedestrians out of the way, held it up like a banner as we crossed against the light. She pointed out the good fruit stands, wagged her finger at the bad ones, ignored the storefronts with elaborate gold jewelry. She was my Italian grandmother in a different skin. When we reached my destination, she gave me back my papers. "Turn here, friend there." And when I turned to thank her, she was gone. Above, in the stunted city trees, the wind through the leaves, the sound of rustling wings. So those angels are all around us. A lot of the poems in this book are me coming to terms with 70, and yeah, I'm a little older than that now, but anyway. Mirror. Who is this woman in my mirror? The one who looks like she's been worked on by Rembrandt or Durer. Why are there mail sacks sagging under her chin? Wasn't it just last week I was doing my hair on rollers the size of orange juice cans? Why is my scalp pink as an eraser showing through? What happened to my snappy ponytail that switched and danced when I cheered? I still feel fresh as that first day of school, new plaid skirt, box of sharpened crayons, pencils that no one had written with yet. Why is this young man from down the street shoveling my driveway? Doesn't he know my shoulders have already lifted great burdens? Can't he see I've already hefted huge shovelfuls of sorrows and stars? And this poem has the quote that Eric just read. I'm using an epigraph from our buddy Walt Whitman from Song of the Open Road. "Still here I carry my old, delicious burdens." And the title is "Who Do You Carry?" For years, I carried my mother, though she grew lighter and lighter, letting go of her possessions with every move until, at the end, there were only her clothes left to be bagged for goodwill. Untethered by her oxygen tank, she floated away. Today I carry my son, whose body's an adult but whose mind's a small child's. My burden, his future, when I am gone, is heavy, the social safety net ripped, holes big enough to sail a boat through. On city streets, the homeless unfurl their sleeping bags like hungry tongues. The lucky ones have tents in a vacant lot. How have we come to this, Walt Whitman? It's the 21st century in America. Can you still hear us singing? Should I send a copy of that to Washington? Yeah, I don't think anyone reads there, so. Okay, so I live in rural Pennsylvania, and this is kind of what we do for fun in Pennsylvania. We go to farm stands and pick fruit. And this is also a political poem, but it's called You Pick. Hot July morning, the sun a burner left on high. Raspberries, beveled treasures, sour pie cherries, ruby globes filling the cardboard picking box. I'm by myself, listening to the chatter of my neighbors in adjoining rows. Some of us are up on ladders. Some of us are down in the brambles and briars. We all think we're in high heaven after the long winter, late cold spring. If this were a protest march, would a few be carrying opposite signs, shouting invectives? Maybe so, but we're here in this small orchard, sharing recipes, tips on preserves, how to make a good pie. We cradle our baskets as if they contain unruly jewels. And then we go our separate ways, licked by the thick tongue of the sun to bring some sweetness to our families, blinking our blind eyes in the multilingual light. And this is the one poem I really wanted to read today because I just saw Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. Anybody see it? Okay, all right. And it's hard. It's April, and a hard rain is falling, just as Bob Dylan told us it would, and every day the news on the radio is worse. Well-greased gobs of lies coming out of Washington, cabinet-level appointments of people least qualified for the job. Okay, so this was, 8 years ago. It's worse now, right? And nobody wants to talk about climate change, although we should all be terrified. Bob warned us, you got to serve somebody, and look, there's Satan at the head of the line, tray in hand, hoping for a second helping of duplicity and greed, the blue plate special. Dana Carvey used to smirk, isn't that special? In the voice of the church lady, but it isn't anymore. More, more, more is the motto of the day for CEOs and billionaires. I've been trying to cut back, scale back, cut down, scale back, skip lunch. But then comes Christmas, which looks like an elf threw up in your house, according to my son-in-law. 20 kinds of cookies, the holy trinity of sugar, butter, and eggs, enough tinsel, glitter, tiny white lights to be seen from a satellite. What this has to do with the birth of a baby in a barn, I'm not quite sure. But I know something is falling, and I've got to keep hoping it's scales from the hardened hearts of the powerful, the way vinegar removes lime from a tea kettle, and that somehow, despite the fix, the darkening odds, a little light will shine. We got to keep hoping, right? We got to keep hoping. Do just a few more. This is another one, obviously written in 2019, April 15th, but now maybe more relevant because it's about Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was restored sooner than we thought and sooner than the poem thought. So, Cathédrale Notre Dame de Paris. Thus it is said, the path into the light seems dark, the Tao Te Ching. Linked with the rest of the world as we are via satellite and internet, I watched in horror as the roof of Notre Dame and its filigreed spire went up in flames. Nearly 50 years ago, in the wreckage of my first marriage, I lit a tall white taper, prayed that my husband would return to himself, keep our family intact, a prayer that disappeared in the dark vaults and the deep shadows. 20 years later, I returned recklessly in love with Paris and my new husband in equal measure. We climbed to the roof 387 stone steps where the city spread out before us, Hemingway's movable feast. We kissed each other hard up there with the crouching chimeras, strixes, the gargoyle waterspouts, the flying buttresses, thinking that this time maybe we got it right, that this marriage was built on solid rock, would last, forgetting that nothing lasts. Not the bronze bells, not the glitter of the rose windows, not our little lives getting closer to the end. But even though we know that restoration will take more than our lifetime and that we will not climb those stairs again, in the vault of our memories, we are kissing. We are kissing as though our lives depend on it. We are holding each other tightly. We will never let go. I think I'm going to end now. This is a Dizane, so I have a couple of poems in form, huh? Not as many as Kathleen, but a couple. And this is 10 lines with 10 syllables in each line. And I'm using the Tao Te Ching again as an epigraph. Whoever can see through all fear will always be safe. And the poem's called Happiness, because I like to leave you on a bright note. It's a day of brilliant blue, lightly smudged with chalky clouds. In the larger world, there's fracking, climate change, industrial sludge. But here, none of this can reach us. Who cares about the news? I'm in this lawn chair, secure in its embrace. In the distance, the surf of traffic, the hum of bees. Chances are none of us gets to live forever. The shadow of the vultures on the lawn cannot dispel this blue euphoria. Thank you. You're a lovely audience. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful night. Thank you all so very much. So don't rush off. Hang around as long as you like.
That's not mine.
A little wine, beer here, and water and whatnot. And there are books. So you should behoove yourself and buy some books because you want to read them and share them. So feel free. You can buy them from the counter or from the poets directly, whichever you want to do. And we'll work all that out later. So yeah, so relax, stick around as long as you're here.
I loved your launch party at the Historical Society.
Yeah, that was lovely.
Wow. Has it been good to work with Catherine Sigerson?